Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, August 22nd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Indiana game in just 11 days. The game against Michigan in 95 days. On yesterday's show, Tony Gerderman and I talked about the fact that we were thinking we might maybe find out from Ryan Day who was going to be QB1 for the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2023. Got a chance to talk today on Monday morning in Columbus. And we got an answer. It was not necessarily the answer. But all right, let's not keep you waiting. We're going to let you hear straight from Ryan Day. What is the update on the quarterbacks?
So both graded out champions in the last scrimmage. Both have gotten better. But to this point right now, I mean, as honestly as I could say it, you know, there's not one that have won the job. There's not one that's lost the job. There's been times over this camp where I felt like one was going to take over and the other one came back. It was like a horse race, and they just kept pulling away, and then the other one would catch up. I think, first off, that our staff feels confident with both of them, which is exciting. I think this is two good players getting after it. I think they're making each other better. We've got them more reps than I think we have anybody else in the camps, any of the camps that I've been here. In the two fields helped us. Having 120 guys able to practice was big. You know, I asked the staff this weekend after the scrimmage. You know, I just took a straw poll, and it was almost split right down the middle. So what does that mean? Well, I think that it's going to continue to go on this week. You know, and we'll go from there. Right? Is there a chance that both of them can play in the first game? I think the answer is yes. That's a chance, but we're going to keep working. We don't have to make that decision right now. But I can tell you that I am pleased with their progress, and you know, our staff feels strong with both of them playing. You know, where it goes, we'll keep putting one foot in front of the other.
You've probably heard the old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. That's not necessarily true in this case, because these guys both sound like they are playing at a pretty high level. I don't know if you heard him mention they both graded out as champions in Saturday's scrimmage. That is probably very, very good news if you're an Ohio State fan wondering, is this two guys who are not quite good enough and they're just waiting for someone to prove that they can play at the level they want to, or two guys who are playing at an extremely high level and they're just trying to figure out which of them is playing at a higher level? Sounds like it's probably the latter, but is it possible that they play two guys during the course of the season?
There's been situations in the past where you have the two really good quarterbacks on the roster, and you know, these things have a way of working themselves out. Now, when? But I can't sit here and honestly say, and I met with the quarterbacks, and they agreed. You know, there's not one that's that much further ahead, but they both graded out champions in the scrimmage. They're both playing very well, so that's really good, and we have confidence in them. So we've talked about this before. You don't know until you get into the game what exactly you have, and the practice is good. Practice gives us a snapshot of what you're going to see in a game, but once you start getting tackled and you're in the situations and you're live, that's a whole other thing. So we'll just keep trying to, you know, figure it out one day at a time. But I've been in situations, not very many, where you don't have a quarterback, and it's like that's not a good feeling. We're going to have a quarterback, and you know, we may have two. And if they deserve to play, they're going to play.
All right, so if that does happen and they do play two guys during meaningful snaps during the game, and it's not just one guy starting and one guy coming in at garbage time, what are they seeing in practice that's driving that this is really that close of a decision? And what would that look like on the field?
Yeah, great question. I don't know the answer to the second part of that yet, but what are we seeing in practice? Well, I think we're seeing, first off, in the run game, I think they have a pretty good handle on what we're doing. In the passing game, I think that they've done a nice job of making good decisions. I think they're getting more and more comfortable being in the pocket and getting the timing of the passing game. That's not something that it just happens. You know, it took Justin Fields a little while. CJ had a great feel for it. Dwayne, you know, that was something that came pretty naturally to him as well. But I think both of the guys are starting to really feel that rush and anticipate what's going on. But, you know, a big thing for us has been situations. I think I've mentioned that before. So we've put them in 2-minute situations. You know, Kyle had a really nice drive in the 2-minute drill. So did Devin. You know, one of them was to score. Well, actually, there was 2 touchdown drives and 2-minute drills in the scrimmage on Saturday. Those are good signs. When you're seeing them play the game, you're seeing them win third down in the red zone, 2-minute, because that's where you make your money as a quarterback. and we're seeing some real improvement in those areas. Now, we got to go put it on the field, and you don't know until you get into a game. But those are the areas that we're seeing the biggest improvement.
Unless they're planning on trotting out for the first play of the season with some kind of a trick play, 2-quarterback formation, at some point they are going to have to make a decision. There's going to have to be a tiebreaker. Who is the starting quarterback? What is that decision actually going to come down to? What is the tiebreaker if they really are really struggling that last week and it really is still too close to call? Are they deciding based on leadership? Are they deciding based on performance in the red zone? What is the tiebreaker if it comes down to that?
It's a great question, and I think it's a great thing to hit on. So, yeah, if it's all equal, you want the guy that has it. You want the guy that's the leader, the guy that's leading men into the end zone. That on third and long, or you're backed up, or after a bad play, or we're down by a score, can rally the team. Or can find a way to go dive into the end zone on, fourth down. You think about, some of the quarterbacks we've had and some of the big plays that they've had in big games. Like, that's what you need in a quarterback, somebody that you can rally around. So, yeah, if all things are equal, we want the better leader, the better decision maker, and ultimately the best competitor. Because playing at quarterback is just constantly competing. And there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad. You have to be resilient. As we all know, especially being the quarterback at Ohio State. So those are all things that are in consideration.
Well, the quarterback position is not the only place on the field where the Buckeyes are still waiting to kind of nail down some starters. 3 of the offensive line starting positions were at least somewhat in the air going into this week. So coming out of Saturday's scrimmage, where do things stand? They had the left tackle spot, the center spot, the right tackle spot, all at least sort of theoretically open. We felt like we kind of knew maybe where this was going. Ryan Day, what's going on with the offensive line?
I think that they've improved. I think as we head into the first game, you'll see. I have to make another correction. Josh does like to be called Josh. The guys were calling him Jimmy, so it's back to Josh Simmons. So getting spun around here in circles. But Josh, you'll see Josh at left tackle, and as of right now, going into this week, he'll probably be the starter. And then Donovan is the incumbent at left guard. He's played well, and we'll plan on him being the starter. Our center, coming out of camp, Carson's a little bit ahead of Vic, but that'll keep working. For the next couple of weeks, they'll keep going at it in practice. We'll keep evaluating, but I would say that right now, and when we looked at that, Matt Jones is had a really good camp, probably the best football he's been playing. And then at right tackle, we'll probably start with Josh Fryer, but Luke Montgomery is going to play football this year. He's got a lot of talent. He has shown that he can compete as a freshman, and we're very excited about him. So we have some other battles still going on. Tegra's in the mix, Zen's in the mix. Like I said, with Vic, Enoch's knocking on the door. So in a situation where we felt like we were thin in the O-line, you turn around after a few months and we feel like we have some decent depth. So nothing set in stone, but as of right now, I'd say those are the leaders in the clubhouse.
The positional battles has not been the only piece of news that has come out over the last few days about Ohio State football. The Buckeyes also named Xavier Johnson the Block O jersey recipient and named 3 captains for this season, including Xavier Johnson, as well as Tommy Eichenberg and Cade Stovers. Now, they've had 6 captains in each of the last couple of years and at least 6 captains in every year that Day has been the head coach. So when they've normally had 6 or more captains, why only 3 this year?
Yeah, when we vote, we have a leadership committee vote in February for our leadership committee, and then we re-vote after the spring season to find out who's on the leadership committee. And then by the time we get to the captains, we've already kind of had 2 votes, and guys have been put into leadership roles. And so I felt like we had a pretty sizable leadership group. But, when we vote, we try to look at, where is there a gap? Tommy and Cade were significantly higher than everybody else, and then the third one was Xavier. And because he was Block O, because it was the 6th year, because he was the 3rd leading vote getter, we felt like it was appropriate to name him as the 3rd captain. And then from there was a sizable gap. Now, part of that was because a lot of other guys got over 10 to 15 votes, and it was spread pretty good. And there was some third year guys in there, and but when you have fifth year guys and sixth year guys who have been around, it's just a little bit of a different feel, just a little bit more of a maturity there. But that doesn't mean the other guys aren't going to be leaders, and we talked about that out in the field. But we just try to look at the numbers and figure out where the gap is and what's appropriate. And we felt like these three were the best that. And I think our team did a good job of voting, because, we had C.J. Barnett and James Laurinaitis speak to the team about what it means to be a captain. And, they hit the nail right on the head. So proud of those guys. Think it's the right group.
Well, in the midst of the captain conversation, well, in the middle of that captain conversation and the starting quarterback race and the offensive line race, and all the stuff going on the defensive side of the ball that we didn't even get a chance to talk about today, there's a lot going on right now around the Ohio State football program, with just about a week and a half to go till that first game of the season at Indiana. We will be at that first game of the season at Indiana, and we'll be there for a whole bunch of other stuff between now and then as well. A lot of news coming. News going to be coming later on today. Five-star defensive end Edric Houston is going to be announcing his college decision. The Buckeyes considered one of the favorites to land his commitment later tonight. So we will have coverage of that at BuckeyeHuddle.com, whether he ends up at Ohio State or somewhere else. And obviously coverage of a whole bunch more stuff. We have interviews later tonight as well with some Ohio State coaches and players. And will they be counting down the days then to the start of football season? What a fantastic time it would be then to join us at BuckeyeHuddle.com, where we have lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to talk about with recruiting, with this year's team. Should be a pretty good team. Should be a pretty good season. Should be a pretty fun fall there at BuckeyeHuddle.com. You can also find us at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Make sure you are subscribed there. Ring that bell to get notified when we go live. We're going to have a lot of live coverage coming for you tonight, later on this week, coming into next week, into game week. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and you're going to be able to talk about it all at BuckeyeHuddle.com and YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. So make sure you join us there. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.